Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a third-person action game that follows Cal Kestis on his second thrilling adventure across a localized part of the galaxy. He battles the Empire, a mischievous Sith, and his own guilt over the people he couldn't save. Importantly, Cal wields a powerful lightsaber and is accompanied by his lovable droid companion, BD-1. The central theme of this game is survival, questioning what it means to survive, have a home, and the costs associated with survival. The storyline is an impressive Star Wars epic with unique moments that establish it as a standalone sequel. Cal and his friends are less nomadic in this installment, with his old friend Grizz setting up a bar in a dusty outpost town on the planet Koba. As players collect more associates, they frequently return to the bar. There, they encounter a diverse cast of characters, including a snail in a diamond suit, a pair of mismatched friends, and a robot DJ. Some of these friends join Cal on missions, but most of the time, players will be accompanied only by BD-1. The game has fewer maps, but those that exist are intricate mazes filled with shortcuts and areas to revisit later. These maps are visually stunning and include diverse environments such as deserts, swamps, and exploded moons. Koba is the largest map and contains sublevels, secret caves, and treacherous valleys. As players progress, Cal and BD-1 gain new abilities, sometimes making traversal a bit overwhelming. Most side quests involve finding collectibles to unlock new customization options, which can be excessive. The combat system has expanded, with Cal now having 5 lightsaber stances. Each stance has unique abilities and players can equip 2 at once, allowing them to master their preferred styles. The combat system is satisfying, as players can use their force abilities to outmaneuver enemies in a variety of ways. The developers at Respawn seem to have the most fun with the combat aspect of the game. Players encounter a variety of enemies with distinct personalities, making each battle entertaining. However, adjusting the difficulty doesn't significantly change the gameplay, and fights can feel repetitive at times. The one aspect of Jedi Survivor that hasn't been reimagined, but didn't really need to be, is, again, ultimately the combat. And it is even better now that the droids are in the mix. Cal has gotten a lot more lethal with a saber in the 5-year time skip. Limbs are chopped off from heavy attacks, troopers and droids alike. Giant bugs can be entirely bisected, and sometimes Cal will unholster his blaster for a finishing execution that it feels like he learned from watching John Wick. And that's a deep dive into this combat system, because improvements have been made with Respawn's ability to create the 5 unique weapons from essentially the same saber. So speaking about Cal now having a blaster, it's one of 2 new saber stances introduced in Jedi Survivor, bringing the total to 5. Single saber, double-sided saber, dual saber, blaster, and crossguard. Respawn has done an outstanding job in creating 5 distinct weapons from the same basic saber. Each stance features its own moveset, upgrade tree, and inherent trade-offs. For example, the double-sided saber boasts an unparalleled reach for crowd control, but lacks in power. Dual sabers inflict considerable damage quickly, but lengthy combos leave Cal vulnerable. The crossguard stance, which is reminiscent of Kylo Ren, functions like a medieval claymore, delivering devastating blows that require a significant wind-up. I primarily chose the blaster and crossguard stance for most of the game because they were the most enjoyable to experiment with. The blaster stance is refreshingly un-Star Wars-like. Half your attacks become ranged, and you regain blaster ammo by dealing saber damage. Saber attacks in blaster mode resemble fencing techniques, sacrificing power to maintain distance while recharging the weapon. The blaster provides a consistent give and take across all stances, and most weaknesses can be mitigated with upgrade points. The weapon trees offer a healthy combination of incremental upgrades and entirely new moves, such as a series of rapid stabs that quickly recharges Cal's blaster. After maxing out the blaster tree and equipping a few complementary perks, I was able to clear entire rooms without using a saber. I rarely lost to a standard group of enemies, and when I did, shortcuts quickly returned me to the action. Health sims are more readily available and often acquired through story progression, providing a balanced experience. On the default difficulty, I typically had just enough health sims to survive challenging encounters. However, persistent performance issues with the PC version threatened to dampen my enjoyment. Even with Nvidia's latest drivers specifically optimized for the game, my frame frame rate frequently suffered. Passing through doorways occasionally triggers significant frame rate drops lasting 10 seconds or more. Cutscenes often dip to 15 to 20 frames per second, along with disrupting or overlapping dialogue, and none of that recovered until I regained control to be able to tinker with the settings. While I'm no Unreal Engine expert, the worst slowdowns seem to occur when the game loads content in the background. Using the galaxy map on Cal's ship consistently resulted in sluggish performance, which is likely due to the game loading the next destination. Performance on the open world sections of Koba was also subpar. I tested the game on 2 different systems with Windows 11, both experiencing performance issues. On Steam Deck, the game is playable only on the lowest settings, and even then performance struggles to maintain 30 FPS at times. I do hope that future improvements improve the game, as it's a lot of fun. It's just hampered, and this is specifically for the PC port. Console versions run fine. Adjusting graphics settings offered little help. The NVIDIA control panel provided a frame rate limiter, and the only upscaling option was FSR 2.0, which rarely improved my FPS, while consistently causing blurriness and reduced clarity in Cal's face during motion. I have never missed DLSS more. Despite these performance issues, the overall experience was still enjoyable. Jedi Survivor is a more ambitious and confident game than its predecessor, emphasizing well-crafted level design over sheer map size, which is a rare approach in an era of vast open-world games. For what it's worth, there is a pre-release patch coming in a few days before launch, and among the patch notes EA shared with press is performance improvements across all platforms. Hopefully it'll help, but I'd be surprised if all those frame rate drops disappeared overnight, as we are living in a time of very bad PC ports. All that aside, I still had a great time with Jedi Survivor. It's a bigger, bolder game than its predecessor. Despite Star Wars fatigue, Jedi Survivor is an enjoyable and entertaining game. It may not take significant risks, but it offers a solid experience for fans of the franchise. The game's runtime varies from 20 hours for the main story to 40 hours if players explore every location. And honestly, the only downside is the fact that it had those issues on PC. But all in all, I think this is an impressive game, one of the best games to come out this year, and it's definitely up there as a Game of the Year contender. If you haven't already, then make sure you pick up Star Wars Jedi Survivor. It is truly a remarkable game.